Hi, and welcome to LinkedIn Live with Danielle Mila and Nikki, and we're going to talk about self-care today. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. Let's get into it.
So, when I was thinking about this event, I was thinking about how many people told me, oh, just fill your cups. Oh, wear an oxygen mask. Oh, just prioritize yourself. Like it was so easy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had many people say the same to you.
Oh, absolutely. I took care of my mom for 12 years, and I guarantee you, I have heard those phrases many a time. And it always used to make me feel like I wasn't trying hard enough to practice self-care, even though I knew I was. But because I kept hearing it all the time, I took it almost like I was failing at self-care. And I didn't appreciate feeling that way. It was not serving until I realized that self care had to look different for everyone who's practicing it because it's comparable to your lifestyle. So in the time that I was caring for my mom, which was in 2011 when I started caring for her, self care to me was going to get my nails done and taking myself out to brunch. That felt good, right? But being a full time caregiver to someone with early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, there was no way that that was sustainable. I could not. I couldn't do it. And also, who's got the money for all of that? There's an expense attached. But I was always so burnt out. So I had to find a way where in my caregiving lifestyle could I practice self-care but make it daily since the burnout was daily. So that's when I started exploring holistic ways to heal, like with taking a multivitamin or making time to make tea and actually drink tea while it's hot. Okay. But those were really intentional ways that I practiced filling my cup. And I think that that is important for caregivers to take away is that, yeah, it's important to have self care, but practicing wellness in a way that's serving for your specific lifestyle is what's going to make you feel a little bit fuller.
Mhm. Yeah, I was thinking about just like to some people, like filling the cup is all the way,
Yeah.
like to the brim. But to me, it was just like I was just lucky to fill the cup just a tad bit, like a sip worth.
Yeah. It'll do wonders. It's like those power naps, right? You don't
Yeah.
need to sleep 2 hours, 20 minutes, 30, you good.
Yeah. So how do we in when we're thinking about caregivers and how do we think in ourselves? Like how do we mentally prepare for the idea that we may not, it's okay to not fill our cup all the way. Even though people are telling us like we have to do all these things, like we have to take care of ourselves. And by the way, none of them ask like, how can we help you? It's or give you like certain examples of what that may look like. Like, did you ever have someone tell you like, here are the three things I can help you with so that you can prioritize yourself because I want that's what I want for you.
Yeah, I never had that. I was lucky that I did have really great support in my sister and in my aunt, that they did as much as they could for my mom's care as far as finances, paperwork, like making the doctor appointments, creating her will and power of attorney. I really had a lot of that support there. And I took that as a part of self care so that I didn't have to worry or concern myself about those things that needed to be taken care of. But as far as the physical self care, whenever anyone would suggest that I need to practice that more, no, I never had anyone suggest that they could help me practice that or anything like that. But what I learned to do was to stop listening to those unsolicited opinions of how I was practicing my own wellness, because it made me feel like I was running around like a chicken without a head, listening to everyone. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. And no examples, no actual assistance in the home. So I started to create a new narrative for myself where I had to shift my mindset and I had to relearn what the idea of self care really should be. It is the practice of giving care to yourself and to others. There's only one way that I could ever pour, and it's only when I am full. But the definition of fullness is really dependent on who is filling that cup. And if you are filling that cup, you make the decision on what you want that definition to be. For me, it was not where it was overflowing, it was just enough that I can get through today. And that's how I always try to stay present, is to know that I'm doing what I can today. I don't have to think about the next day, 2 weeks from now. Let me just worry about today. So filling my cup meant, how can I stay present today where I feel good about today, if that makes sense.
So I guess before we're filling the cup, we have to first determine, what does filling our cup mean?
Yeah, what
And what does it mean? Is that like 1/3 of the cup? Is that like, and what are those actionable items that will actually fill our cup? Because we could do things that we think will fill our cup, when actuality, they don't fill the cup at all.
Right, right. And I love that question. That is such a good one. So what I would say, when it comes to defining what filling the cup is, I think it takes the 1/3, like you mentioned, that portion, because for me, I couldn't really decide on my own what that should look like, when I felt like I was really a messy caregiver. I was all over the place. And I needed guidance. I needed guidance on help with what I was eating, because I was so exhausted that I only grabbed things that would give me energy right away. And those things were heavily laced with sugar. Okay. Kit Kat, soda, drop the rock if you're listening. Don't judge. But that's something that was a challenge for me. And even with my emotions, I didn't know how to vocalize or find a healthy outlet for the things that I was feeling. I was really in despair about this new lifestyle and this new identity of being my mother's caregiver, and feeling all these feelings. So filling my cup and defining that meant that I had to create a care team. So my care team consisted of a nutritionist, a physical therapist, a personal trainer, and a dietitian. So I'm going to try to break that down. So for a dietitian, well, I guess I should start with a nutritionist. So for a nutritionist, that was incredible, because I was able to work with a doctor who had a list of different nutritionists that I could reach out to, and diet plans that I could observe, because at that time I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I didn't understand that stress levels and high cortisol levels can increase and impact your glucose levels. And that was never going to work because being a caregiver, I was always stressed. Right. So having a nutritionist guide me with healthy snack alternatives, and with understanding that my body was always communicating. Anytime I felt lethargic or sad or tired or was in actual pain, it was my body communicating with me. So my nutritionist helped guide me with understanding myself and my physical needs a lot better. And then having a physical therapist also was a part of my care team. I became a disabled caregiver to my mom. So making sure that I was still taking care of myself physically was something I couldn't do on my own. And I did need assistance with that. So that was phenomenal. Having a personal trainer. Now, in the beginning, because my mom and I were always at home, having the personal trainer for me looked like using the Peloton app and using the trainers within the app. And that was really great, because I could combine it with my physical therapist, as far as letting them know what classes I was taking, to see if that was going to help or harm my disability. And lastly, a dietitian was phenomenal because they really helped me by by helping me stay accountable with what I was eating and tracking. And also that was an app that I was able to use so that I could track my meals, my calories, my points. So having that care team for me was a great way of defining how I was filling my cup.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm thinking about from multiple perspectives right now. The first perspective I'm thinking is, Like, bravo to you for developing a care team. Like, I always say, like, caregivers need caregivers.
Yeah, we
And when we think of care teams, we usually think of a care team for a loved one, not a care team surrounding us as caregivers. So, bravo to you for getting that set up. And I thought it was so interesting how you set that up. Like, in a way, you were being creative and intentional about creating your care team. Like you said, like the Peloton, like you were going to a gym that's something you can do from home, and
yeah.
that you were communicating with your other people in the professionals in your care team to really have a sustainable and accountable care team for you. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I really was inspired by my mom because I was always going to her doctor appointments, and I kept thinking like this is a very SMH moment, a very shaking my head moment, because how does she have a doctor for every single one of her needs and I don't? No, someone's got to give. And what gave was me exploring different ways that I could show up for myself intentionally and to do it in a way that was financially capable for me. I didn't over exhaust myself or overwhelm myself with all of these care team, all the people involved in my care team. That's why I went with the Peloton app, because I was looking for something that was going to complement my lifestyle as a caregiver who was always at home or mostly at home, and it was affordable for me, right? And then even with the things that I did need in person, like my physical therapist, I had insurance that could cover that, and then the other expenses, I could use coupons like from GoodRx. Things like that really helped me to create a streamline of care for myself. I also was able to find eventually in time a doctor system that was called Go Forward. And they are a 24/7, 365 doctor team. And they also give you a care team as well. And there's an app that you use. And if you have any situations going on, they are readily available to attend to you. They also keep your medical records right there on the app. So if you have to go to like an urgent care, you can easily pull it up, like your diagnosis or medications that you're on, any allergies that you have. It's all in the system. And I found that to be very convenient for me, because there were some times where our hours as caregivers are not set in stone. It's not 9 to 5, it's 9 to whatever. In fact, there is no nine, it's just a continual day. Okay. So that was really helpful to have a care team like my doctors who were always available no matter what time, no matter what day. They work on holidays as well. I think it behooves us to invest in ourselves, because that's what that is. It's an investment. It's time that you are investing to do the research, to research about the things that you feel you are in need of. Do you think you need a therapist? Okay, well, what feels like it could work best for you? An online therapy, or in person, or on the phone, or is it through virtual? Like exploring the different ways that you could care for yourself that again speak to your lifestyle and also your financial comfort.
So, what would you say to the caregivers who were like, I'm so grateful and glad you had that, Nikki, but I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I would say come book a session with me. Okay, that's what I would say. I would say, come talk to me, boo. Okay, let's sit down and let's roadmap this out. And let's take our time and do it. Let's really sit and think about one day that you have and what happens in that day. Give me the most challenging day that you've ever had. Talk me through that. And let's see where we can create pockets of peace within that challenging day.
Yeah, I think when I finally actually wanted to fill my cup and was intentional about it, even though it was in the back of my head, I think it was the first time where I was like, actually, let's take the steps to accomplish this. When I got to that point, it felt really overwhelming. Like
Yeah.
finding a therapist that was compatible,
Yeah.
a therapist who actually understood my needs as a caregiver was
Yes.
really difficult. That could take my insurance, that my insurance would approve.
Yeah.
It took, like, at least a couple months
Yeah. It's time.
for things to get set up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It takes a lot of time. That's why I encourage us to take those moments where we can invest in time and do research. If it has to take a few months, you're worth it. Because when you do find that therapist who makes you feel seen and human, there is no better feeling in the world.
Definitely. Yeah, I once I've started, because I feel like there's stages in building a care team. So the first one
Yeah.
is actually going and creating one,
Yeah.
and how do I even create one? The
Yeah.
second is making the phone calls or scheduling the meetings out. And then the third one is, like, going through the pre-assessment, and that you're not even there. You're not at that time healing at that point. It's after the assessment that you are actually start seeing progress, I feel like.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. That's why I encourage any caregiver who's listening or watching to really reach out to me, and let's see how we can work together, because there are levels to this. Before you can actually nail down your therapist, I like to encourage to do small steps before heading into that therapy session. And the small steps can look like two things: breathing exercising and journaling, because those are healthy outlets where we can unpack all this heaviness that we're feeling. If journaling is not your jam, then I would suggest color therapy, where you are sitting down and actually coloring, because there is something so transformative when you are just zoned out in the colors and creating something that is
Mhm.
all yours. You feel proud, you feel like good, So I would encourage that. And if coloring is not your thing, then perhaps some yoga or a really great dance session. There are some amazing caregivers that do dance sessions, I believe once a month. Her name is Chris with Life with Grams. Sorry, I think we got disconnected. Her name is Chris with Life with a Caregiver. They do this dance session and it's amazing. The endorphins, you just feel so good because this is your time to do whatever you want.
Yeah, I felt like I had to start getting creative with self-care, especially as being a mom to a young child and then a caregiver to my grandmother. I felt like my time was so squashed that I had to make time to bond with both while getting self-care. And that's what I wanted to talk about, the oxygen mask, because people just say, "Oh, just put your oxygen mask on." And I'm like, "Well, I've been in the hospital all day." And it's been all
Yeah,
day, like, for the last week. And then I come home to my child on the non-visiting hours, and she wants my attention because she hadn't seen me all day. It's like,
right.
please tell me where in that time frame, and I haven't even had dinner. I haven't even, gotten myself prepped for the next day. Like, where in that time do you suggest that I put my oxygen mask on? Because my time is really limited. And
Yeah.
so I started thinking to myself, how can I put these self care tools in my toolbox so that I can get self care while still being a caregiver? And
And
so
would
one
you
of
come
the
up?
things we did was, as you said, the coloring. So I would do
Yeah.
coloring with my daughter. We found like yoga on YouTube, and it was like in her favorite character. So like Sonic, or it'd be
Yes.
like Rapunzel or something. Like, something's better than nothing. So we do the yoga together, or we do like a dance class on YouTube. Like,
Exactly.
we'd find time together that was still bonding, where I could still say I did something to fill my cup.
Oh my God, exactly that. That's why I really put emphasis on making sure that self-care suits your lifestyle. If your lifestyle is you're a mom and a caregiver, you're a sandwich caregiver, well then putting self-care into your cup is going to look like activities that are shared with your loved one. So coloring with your daughter, yoga with your daughter, it has to make sense and not feel like an extreme a stressor that's something else you have to do. No, you can do this while you are doing that. Like with taking your multivitamin and doing that daily or however, well, multivitamins are supposed to be taken every day. So taking your multivitamin daily, if you are the caregiver that is setting up your loved one's medication in their medical pill box, you can do that for yourself too, right? Exactly. Doing it together, making it all work in cohesion. So that way, again, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It just feels like this is our routine. And
Yeah.
routine is going to carry you through the long haul.
Yeah, I've been working a lot with my therapist about placement of things. And this is a natural flow of ways to take care of yourself. Like putting the
Absolutely.
multivitamin in some place that's convenient for you every morning. So
Yeah.
my husband and I joke around. We call it can't see bread disorder, which obviously is not a diagnosis or it's just something we joke together because at the time we were at a grocery store and I was looking for Pacific bread in like a loaf of bread shelf. And so we joke around like you can't see the thing that's right in front of you.
Oh,
And that's kind
no.
of like our joke. Because sometimes it happens to people where it's like it's just right in front of you. You're just seeing
Yeah.
everything around it, but that object. And so like I think of that same way with self-care is how can I put that object in a place where it's easy? It's an easy grab. It's convenient and part of your routine flow
Yeah.
so that you're never going to mistake it. And
Yeah.
there's something that's going to trigger that action to occur. So whether that's a reminder or that's the first time I use the restroom in the morning or that's I'm waking up and having my cup of coffee in the morning, something that triggers that self-care action to occur.
Exactly. That is so cool that you guys made that statement up, because, or that phrase rather, because it makes sense. Because when you're in caregiver mode and then you hit burnout, you can't see the bread in the bread aisle. You are so deep in it. You need someone to help you, pull you back a little to really see, like, wait a minute, you have all these options actually. And now we're basically living in the future. You have so much technology that can assist you with your wellness habits. So I feel like we're in a much better position to be successful caregivers.
Yeah, we're just thinking about like our wardrobe. Like some people have like before you were a caregiver, you probably had time and money to invest in your self-care, as you said, your nails and invest in clothes that you liked. Maybe you have a whole wardrobe, like a whole closet full of clothes. And now you're becoming a caregiver and you're like, I can't see those clothes fully. It's like a bunch of brands on a shelf. Like, how do I select which one I want? This feels so overwhelming. And you probably pull it out and you're just like, I haven't seen this in ages because I haven't worn it in a long time. And maybe you're pulling the other one out and you're like, well, this is really hard to get to. Like, I have to dig to get it out. Like, and then I have to decide what color I want today. Like,
Right.
it's just adding to the decisions you're already making
Yeah.
in a closet that's maybe completely full.
Yeah. And some people, no shade, but some people would just close that closet and just get some new clothes. Just not even bother going through it. Let's just start fresh. Right. But that's why, again, it's so important to have a consultant or someone who can coordinate that for you, who can help just initially to get you where you need to be. When we go to college, are assigned our classes, we are given a syllabus. So working with a consultant or a coordinator, they will give you a syllabus, so to speak, so they can help you with the clothes. So for the clothes, if you once worked in, like for me, I worked in fashion. So my clothes did not speak to my new role as a caregiver. I couldn't wear my sequence jogger pants. I couldn't do it. I could wear joggers, just not sequins, right? So things like that, it helped for me to understand how I could still show up as me in this new caregiver uniform. So even though I can't wear my sequins joggers, I can still wear joggers, right? And maybe I could wear it in my favorite color, if not for this specific type of fabric. And I think that that's also important, that you don't lose yourself in this new role. You are a separate, unique identity outside of being a caregiver. So if there are clothes and styles that you like that you know probably won't work for the tasks that you have to do every day, then finding things about what it is that you like and replacing them with what would actually work better in functioning as a caregiver. So if you like wearing sweatpants or leggings and a t-shirt, maybe making a uniform for yourself where you are wearing houndstooth leggings and a white crew neck sweater. I mean, that's a vibe, right? But it's still something that allows you to be functional and doing the things that you have to do every day. Maybe wearing joggers and a shirt that has pockets if you need it, so that you can carry your phone and carry your loved ones, whatever they need, tissues in your pocket. Making sure that you're wearing things that are going to suit and fit your lifestyle as a caregiver, but still make you look like you. That will help.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning, especially the first 6 months of caregiving, I kinda lost that. It was
Yeah.
kind of like, let's just put on whatever's comfortable, what's easy, because you're playing so many different types of roles.
Yes.
You're transferring your loved one to bed, you may be changing underwear, you may be going to doctor's appointments.
Mhm.
It's almost like you need, like, nurses' clothing on, like
Like
scrubs,
cramps. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because but to many, that's not traditionally what we wear is scrubs all
Right,
day. That
right.
that's most of the scrubs are not stylized to your personality. Like, it gets boring after a while. Like, I remember in the beginning, my grandmother just bluntly telling me, this is just her personality, like, "You look like you're a homeless person because
Wow.
you're in a t-shirt and just sweatpants or t-shirts and shorts all the time."
Thanks,
Like,
Granny.
not making effort to take care of yourself.
Mm,
And, like, it was her way of kind of saying, like, you need to take care of yourself, but in a
I love
very blunt and not direct way, I guess.
Yeah. I
But
love that though, because they notice. And that's the thing. Even though we're caught up in the role, doing all the things, we're the Uber driver, we're the chef, we're the mind reader, we're the financier, like we're doing all the things, and we almost like self-abandon
mhm,
or neglect those things that we just feel may not be important or or as high in the priority list, but our loved ones notice. They
mhm.
do, and they care. So if they can notice that and they could care about it, that should kind of tell us something like, you know what? You might have a right. I don't know if I like the way you said it, but I'm glad you said it. I needed to hear it. Thanks. Thanks, Grams.
Yeah, it was almost like I wouldn't say that it was a transitioning moment for me, but it was like I was like, clothing was the last thing on
Yeah.
my agenda. It
I
was
mean,
just like, I have to get to and from someplace, and I
yeah,
have
and
to.
you said it. You said it was like your first 6 months, and it's true. When you are thrown in there, it is Alice in the rabbit hole, and that thing is just you just keep going and go. Where is the floor? Where's a soft place to land? You're trying to do all the things. So who is thinking about clothes I'm wearing today? I don't care. It's all about did she get her medication? Did she shower? Is she able to walk? Did she just fall? Where's she going? So it's completely understandable. That is the moment to apply, not pressure. Haha, you thought I was going to say it. No, that is the moment to apply grace and forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. You are human and you are experiencing a caregiver moment. Okay?
So, what would you tell that caregiver, for example? Let's just play the scene here.
Let's
I
do it.
I'm I come to my grandmother's house, which unfortunately she's passed away, but you can get the point here. I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts. The outfit's from Costco because that's easy to buy and cheap.
Yes.
Um, and I'm just walking in, in and out of the house all the time. I'm go, go, go. I don't have time to go shop on Amazon or even go to the store to buy new clothes,
Yeah.
nor do I have anything organized enough to just pull things out of my closet. Again, my closet is full of
Yeah.
stuff I haven't worn in a really long time.
Okay.
Where would you go from there?
I would snatch you. I would snatch you real quick and I would say, let's go back to Costco. Okay. And let's do this again. All right. Run this back. And what we need to do is create our own scrub or our own uniform. Okay. I like to do it with color. And here's why. I feel like color psychology is really important to addressing our emotion or the mood that we want to have for the day, like set for the day. So, in the different stages, and I'm going to speak specific to my mom's stages of early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, she had, let's just call it, generalize it to three stages: early, middle, and last. Right. So, in the early stages, it was a lot of fun because she was still my mom. She could still have conversations with me. So, the colors that I wore were really vibrant and, fun. So, a lot of reds, like bright colors. That was the mood that I wanted to have for that day. So if we're in Costco, I'm going to suggest that we look for colors that are going to speak to the moods that we need. Do you need orange? Do you feel a lack of energy when you wake up? Are you feeling like lethargic already and it's not even 12 p.m.? What's going on? How are you feeling for the day? All right, so now we're going to have a color that works with that. Maybe we need to wear more yellows or adopt more blues. Blues were really great for me in the last stages of my mom's dementia because she was on hospice at home. She was bedbound, and I knew that it required for me to pay more attention on my nervous system and knowing that she was going to transition any day. So I wore a lot of blues on purpose. Blue is a color that speaks to healing, right? It makes you feel very calm depending on the shade of blue. So you don't have to just stick to one color, but you can explore the different range of colors. So if we are using blue, then maybe we'll have like a navy blue one day and maybe a powder blue the next day, maybe a pastel blue, but you can definitely create this safe space in your heart when you really focus on the colors that you're using.
So when I'm thinking about colors, are we talking about colors that gravitate me or colors that feel good or have meaning behind them?
So I love that question. I would say it's going to be a mix of both. When you say that gravitate you, you mean the colors that you really like. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then if the colors that you really like, if they make you feel good, those are your colors. Then that's what we need to wear. I like to wear black. That's my favorite color. However, because of the different emotional strains that I was witnessing with my mom's decline, black was not serving for me psychologically. So like even today, I'm wearing white because it's a color of transition and tranquility, and that speaks to me because I just lost my dog a few days ago, and I needed that. I mean, I could wear mourning colors like black, but for me, I know my mental health needs this color, and that subconsciously it's making me feel like I'm having a healing moment. So if the colors that you are naturally gravitated towards is something that's going to make you feel good, I encourage you to do that. Wear those colors. And make it a flex. Get the glasses that look like, accessorize. Okay. Get your little purse to make it look like that. If it's the crossbody bag. So when you're going to the doctor's appointment, you're all matching. You look good. Do it. Accessorize.
So I want to say my condolences to the loss of your puppy, and
Thank you.
I would love it if you feel comfortable to just share maybe a memory that you had with your dog, if you're open to that.
Yeah, totally. I'm so open. So I first adopted my dog in November of 2010. And what was so remarkable is that my mom was diagnosed a year later with early onset dementia. But from the time that I had adopted him, she really was all over him. He was like her pet therapy. She would bathe him all the time, carry him like a baby. Like, it was so beautiful how she was able to connect with him in such a close way. I really wish I had the right words for it, but I absolutely loved how they both just had a strong bond even up till the very end when my mom passed away in February 2023. He never could leave her side. He was always in her room. Even when she finally transitioned, he would only sleep in her room.
Oh,
So they really had a very strong connection. And he was also very, very much that dog that could pick up on emotions really well. So he would know when I was sick or when I was very sad, and he would always come and sit real close next to me or sit on my feet. Like, he was such a beautiful companion. I absolutely had an angel dog, and I'm so grateful to be able to be his fur mama.
oh.
Thank you for allowing me space to share about him. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I I I want you to have the space to grieve and time to do that. And I just the way you represented the story, it just made me feel like your dog was part of your care team. Like
Absolutely.
was the person who looked out for you, that cared for you. Um
Yes.
almost as if like you were talking about your sweater. It's like the hug, the
Yeah.
warmth and the hug that it brings you.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even think that that's what it's doing. That's why it's a subconscious act. Intentional, but definitely subconscious. I didn't realize my dog, he really looked out for me and my emotions. I did not know that I needed what he gave me. And I'm so appreciative. Even knowing that he was only supposed to live for 12 years. He lived for 14 years. Yeah, 2 years after my mom passed. And I think he held on so much because he wanted to make sure that I was really going to be okay. Because losing my mom, I also had a cat, and my cat passed away a month after my mom passed away. And it was like I had no time to really grieve because I was grieving my mom. And when you're grieving a person that you have cared for such a long time, your brain now needs to be rewired because you have been functioning in this routine and lifestyle for a long time. So to just wake up and start the next day as if it's a new day doesn't make sense. You're in a state of confusion. It feels weird. Like, what's going on? Why can't I hear that hospital bed? Is something wrong? Why isn't this on? Like, what's going on today? Today feels different. And it is different. And I encourage anyone who is grieving to know that it is okay to feel all of those strange emotions, and it is also okay to slow down, to just take a minute. If you need to go outside and touch grass, then do that. If you need to just sit at home on that bathroom and cry, then do that. But it's okay to slow down. And also, it's okay to have someone advocate for you in that moment of grief. Have people speak on your behalf. Let them know, hey, listen, Nikki can't talk right now. If you have any messages or anything that you need, let me know and I will give it to her when she needs it. Or let people know that, hey, listen, I am in bereavement right now. I'm going to need a few days and then I'll get back to you. Right? But again, if you don't have the capacity to speak on your behalf, let somebody else do that for you.
And how would someone find someone like that? Because
So, yeah.
it's just hard to find someone that you can trust enough to advocate for you, whether that's in the hospital, whether that's
Mhm.
at home.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. You're good. These are some really awesome questions. So when it comes to finding someone like that, I think what is a really great point of view is to look at what is happening in your life. What stage of care are you in right now? Are you in the beginning stage, the middle stage, or the end stage, right? In any of those stages that you find yourself, I think it's important that you create a community of care, which is different from the care team, okay? A community of care are going to be trusted people, whether they are comprised of your family, friends, or professionals who are aware of your position and your current situation. So, for example, if you're in the middle stages of caring for your loved one, and something happens like an emergency, your community of care should already be aware of what's happening because you have communicated that with them that, hey, listen, I'm taking care of grandpa and this is what happened in our last doctor appointment. And these are the steps they want us to take, blah, blah, blah. But that community will hold sacred the information that you give them so that they can also keep things in a sort of organized way of structure to know that if anything happened, we're prepared for you. You don't have to worry about that part. We have taken care of it. So it's similar to like what happens in hospice care. In hospice care, they sit you down and they explain to you what exactly is going to happen in this structure, which is going to look like they're going to give you weekly calls to check in on you and your person. If a phone call is too much, then they might email you, okay? Depending on whatever feels good for you. They will also send your loved one the things, the supplies, the medical supplies they need, and also their own nurses and doctors, right? But they're also checking in on you and they're asking the questions to you directly about how you're feeling. What are your needs? This community of care that you're building for yourself should look like that. It should look like someone that you speak to and let them know, hey, listen, this is what's going on. And when I said, if you can't get your friends or your family, if you possibly need to have it be a professional, maybe that professional is your therapist that you are speaking to and giving them permission to reach out to another close relative, like a sister, a cousin, your father, in case of an emergency. Then make that your care need.
Who were part of, like, you had your initial care team and then you had people outside of that care team, correct? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I had my care team and then I had a community of care. And some
And
of the community of care was also my support group that I
okay.
used, which consisted of a social worker, which was really helpful.
Did you find that you connected more with advocates or people in that group that were part of the care community already, part that were already caregivers, or was it mixed between those who's never been a caregiver before and people who were a caregiver?
I definitely felt more of a connection with the advocates and the caregivers than with my family and my friends because it's a whole different lifestyle. It's like saying you're an astronaut and you have your next gig is on Mars, but you just got back from Venus, and oh my God, Venus was wild. And you're trying to talk and connect with your family and your friends, and they're just like, "Yeah, girl. Anyway, are you coming with us this weekend or not?" Like it's just different when you're talking to other astronauts, and they're just like, "Tell me about it. Did you remember seeing that Martian?" I know. Oh, you didn't go to Mars yet. Okay, well, when you get there, they're gonna be these Martians. Okay, it's a different level of connection. And it just, you feel like you found your place, like you found your people, like, oh, you get me. Thank God.
How did you tackle those astronauts that have never gone to Mars before? Like,
Well,
because
not
many of
well.
my friends who are never caregivers just really don't understand.
Yeah.
Which I
Okay.
don't blame them for not understanding,
Right. Right.
because
Yeah.
I was 25 when I started caregiving, so the chances of having someone else my age being the same age and a caregiver was like was like a diamond in the rough or something like that. And you
Yeah.
started fairly early as well.
Yeah, I
So
was 27. Yeah, I can only imagine. 25, golly wally. Yeah, they're probably, it's just like going over their head. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Yeah. In the beginning, I did not deal with them well, not understanding me. Like, I did have friends saying, "Hey, aren't you going to go out with us? We're going to this club." I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm exhausted. I cannot go to a club. No, I want to go to club bed. That's what I want. Okay, leave me alone." They just did not get it. So in the beginning, I didn't get it either, because at that time I didn't have the vocabulary to say, "Hey, listen, I'm actually going through this right now. So as much as I want to be there, unfortunately, I might need to reschedule." Like, I need to find, I didn't understand that you can speak to your loved ones, your friends, your family, and let them know what's going on in your life, that it's okay to do that. And if they don't understand, that's also okay, because there are different seasons in life. Just like there's summer, there's winter, there's spring, there's fall. When it's summer, you're not putting on your thick wool coat. I bet you won't. You shouldn't, because it's summertime. You're looking for your shorts. You're trying to find out if you're going to wear that bathing suit or not, right? And that's the same thing with friends and family members who just don't get it. Maybe it's just not the season to connect with them on that level. And that's okay. In another season, it will be, and it will be fine, right?
I'm just thinking of like how isolating it was to be a caregiver because, as you said, it's like I didn't have a caregiver advocate group that I could really, or a group of people that I could really rely on to
Right.
support me that understood what it was like to go through that.
Yeah.
And everyone outside didn't understand. It kind of felt like my mom and I against the world, kind of. Like, it was
Yeah.
just a very isolating time, and when you're isolated, it's like you have no venting system because which which is partly my fault because I didn't create that vent in the wall to even create a venting system. But what would you say to those caregivers who are pretty much their backs up against the wall, they're isolated, they don't have any supports available to them? What are some practical tips that you would have for those people so that they can create that vent to get support?
Another great question. Well, I would like to propose another question back. Have you ever built a bathroom before?
That seems really random, but I'm sure you have some reason for this. Okay, no, I haven't built a bathroom before.
You haven't built a bathroom before. Then how would you know that it needed a vent? If you haven't been there before, you don't know what you need, right? You learn as you go. And again, we apply grace. And grace is forgiving ourselves for things we did not have knowledge of. So it's okay. It's okay if you now found out that you needed a vent. Okay, where do we go? Lowe's or Home Depot? Right? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go. But there's no shame and there is no pressure. We need to learn how to practice more gentle care with ourselves, and that includes our self talk. That said, so what would I do? I would suggest that a caregiver find communities where they feel the most seen, like the most aware that they are not an alien. Like, this is not unusual. This is actually something that is a reality for a lot of people on this planet. I would suggest finding that caregiver support group that again speaks to their lifestyle. So if you maybe suffer with social anxiety and you don't want to do face to face, then finding a virtual caregiver support group, maybe going through Facebook groups to find that support group, or leaning in on the caregiver influencers that are everywhere on TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn, so that you can find trusted support groups that these care influencers are a part of or can vouch for. That way, you know that you are going into something that is really going to serve you best. But that's what I would suggest. That is your way where you can create your venting system and not feel so alone. Because you're right, being a caregiver, it was a very isolating experience. And there might be moments where, even on the care journey, you still find very solitude days, but you are not alone. There are times where it will feel that way, but feelings are temporary, they do not last. Facts remain. And the fact is, you are not alone.
Yeah. As much as it may feel alone, we really aren't alone. There are so many people. We don't need laser vision to find caregivers around us. They're everywhere.
They're
Um,
everywhere.
and if you haven't reached out to one, you're listening, you haven't reached out to one, now is the time. Um, the sooner the better, because they probably need your support. And list those three things that you can help with. I can pick up groceries for you.
Yeah.
I can go on a walk with you and your loved one.
Yep.
I can
I can help you organize your closet. I
there
can
you go.
help with your own, with creating a to-do list or a grocery list. I can do those things for you. You know, even using technology to help you with that. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have AI everywhere you go, but adopting a boss mindset where you can delegate those things that you don't really have to focus more energy on is going to help you on this care journey. So maybe using chat gpt and being very specific and saying, hey, I have $75, I want to go to Trader Joe's and I want to have a healthy option of groceries, and please create meals off of the groceries that you put on this list, and let it do its work. Okay, be specific.
Definitely, like, use the resources you have available to you.
Yeah, it's
Um,
free.
I always tell people, like, just like the can't see bread is hair, can't see what's in front of you. Like,
Yeah,
we often don't pick the resources that are so easy to grasp, like the city worker or the community center or the neighbor, or like usually those are like sometimes the last people we choose for help, even though they're right in front of you. They're just right in front of you, just can't seem to see it.
yeah.
Um, and that's no fault to your own. As we wrap up, I'm curious to hear what, if you could say what your top caregiver influencers are. Of course, you can put yourself as one of those three, but I'm curious if who would you go to if you're feeling isolated and wanting help, or wanting just the comfort of somebody else going through the experience? Who would be your go-tos to look at social media?
Man, you are killing it with these questions. You're really good. There are so many. I would say Chris with Life with Grams is my number one. I love her because she is very real and she will share her journey of taking care of her grandmother, and and also the other raw moments that happen. She's a young millennial. I believe she's in her 30s. The next one I would say, um Career Caregiving Collide. uh, and it's a Black caregiver taking care of her mom, and she's incredible because she shares a lot of great tips on how to be present at work and also take care of your loved one. Carlos with Charlie Robot, I believe that's the name. And he is taking care of his dad with dementia. And he also has a disability. So he shows a lot of how he's taking care of himself and taking care of his dad. He does a really great prompt of gratitude every day where he's talking about something that he's grateful for. I would say, man, Carrie with Dementia Darling. She's fantastic with giving out resources. There are way too many. I have way too many. I would definitely say myself with giving the support of both small wellness hacks that you can practice every day, and also some fashion tips on how to still represent yourself while you're caring for a loved one. If I could squeeze in one more, I would say Christina. And her platform is phenomenal. She does a lot of speaking engagements. I believe she is working on some future endeavors that I think one of them is like a cruise for caregivers. Really cool. I would also say you, but I think what caregivers can get from you is how to better position themselves financially, like how to make smart finance choices. But I would say that you're more for everyone, not just specific to caregivers. That's my list.
Yeah, that's a great list, and thank you for adding me to that list. And then to wrap up, what are some 3 easy ways? So if you were to tell a caregiver who's maybe burnt out or exhausted and just feels like self-care can't fit in, what are 3 things they can do, easy things they can do to practice their self-care?
Drink water, take your multivitamin, and listen to music. That's music. I mean, that's really gonna pump you up for the day. And if music can't do it, then subscribe to Libby, which is the library app, and get some Audible books, some audio books where you could just listen to. I really prefer that too, because like we were talking about how caregiving is, it feels very isolating. When I'm listening to a book, I feel like I'm talking to a friend. Like, girl, you did not let him talk to you like that. What? So I love listening to books while I was doing the laundry, while I was getting my mom ready for bed, like when I'm vacuuming. I'm listening to a book and I'm getting involved. Okay. But also
You're getting
listening,
trapped in that story.
I am getting trapped in that story. I cannot believe the tea in that story. But also listening to music really helped me to adjust my energy when I'm starting the day and when I'm trying to help my loved one with whatever is a challenge for them. Like grooming was always the challenge for my mom. She never wanted to brush her teeth or brush her hair. I'm like, why not? This is the best part. But when I started to play Jackson 5 for her, oh my God, she was ready to rumble. She was in that bathroom like, let's do it. What are we in here for? Dancing? No, for grooming. Let's get into it. So yeah, I would suggest those 3 things. Drink water because you don't realize it, but you're dehydrated. Drink that water, okay? Take the multivitamin because you need the vitamin Ds. You need the skin, hair, nails probiotic. If you can't take the pill, get you some gummies, and music or audiobooks.
I love that. Thank you again for being here with us and
Thank you for
spilling
having
some tips in between all your stories and
me.
your imaginative scenarios. I
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you,
I
Nikki.
appreciate you. This is awesome. Your questions are pretty phenomenal. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you. And thank you for what you're doing for this community. We need you. So thank you.
Thank you.